So we've got questions.
Yes.
I'm John, and we're here to talk to you today about concrete. It's one of our favorite things to do.
It totally is.
There's other things that we like doing though. Traveling.
We do.
What's your favorite place that we've gone so far?
You know what? Mexico was great on the
Mexico's
honeymoon,
great.
but I have to say that little getaway to La Jolla
La Jolla.
was freaking awesome. Like, great little town, just taking Uber everywhere, you know, just a quick
Yeah.
weekend, direct
Oh, it's
flight, like it was perfect.
Going
So-
for that run at like 6
Oh
o'clock
my
in the morning
gosh,
with the
right
ocean
along
breeze.
the beach, it was amazing.
Ah,
Yeah, loved that. We'll have to do that again.
I think my favorite was Farley's.
Oh yeah, Lambertville,
Hope New Hope.
New Hope. Yeah, we
There's
stayed at
this-
Porches the first time.
There's this rare bookshop
Right.
where I've gotten some of the coolest books.
I know, like totally just
Like
random,
random
like,
science
very
or just history books. It's called Farley's.
cool.
We'll
Right.
put the link below. But if you've never been there and you feel
Yeah.
like going to,
Oh, I know. Bed and breakfast.
love
They
that
had
place.
some really fancy ones too, so
Yeah, totally.
they cover all price ranges there.
Right. Great food too.
Totally.
Irish pubs down underground.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Even
Awesome.
a great place to see a show like
Right.
a Barnhouse theater production.
Check out some concrete. They had a neat bridge there,
A
right?
bunch of neat bridges
And they have the like little bath shop, you know, where you can get all those like
I was gonna say that.
fizzies. I know, I'm sure something more concrete or engineering related.
I was gonna say there's some great tattoo shops.
Oh.
So that's
don't
something
remember
that. Oh yeah. Never got a tattoo there,
Right. Oh
But-
yeah.
but we did go
Yeah.
check them out.
Sure.
Anyway, so Q&A Wednesday, when
Yes.
we ask some of the deepest, most complex questions about concrete cement composites for you.
Right.
I mean, it's for us,
Right.
but it's for,
For
you.
you.
Right. So our first question is by Soham Sen from, he's a doctor at MGR Educational and Research Institute in India.
Right.
And here's his first question. Bing! So our first question is, what is more beneficial to use? Portland Pozzolana cement or OPC with ash? You know, that is
I'm not familiar with pozzolana cement personally. Can you do a quick explanation?
Sure, and I'm guessing either that's a product or a specified material
Okay.
that they have to use in their municipality.
Sure.
It sounds more like a product.
Sure.
You know, and there are a bunch of blended cements available on the market, and that's what that
Yeah,
is
okay.
alluding to. Whether it
Okay.
has silica fume or already has ash
Oh,
in it.
has-
And
okay.
most cements already have a certain amount of ash in
Do
them.
they
Yeah,
really?
I know, crazy.
I did not know that.
Most cements also have a certain amount of limestone fines.
Okay.
That I think you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Now there are 1157 cements, and I believe that's the right ASTM,
Okay.
that are heavy on the limestone fines or the fillers,
Okay.
and they're not prescription, they're performance based. So they don't have to have a certain chemistry, they have to meet a certain performance criteria.
Okay.
So you have general use, you have high performance,
Sure.
but anyway, there are also cements with certain amount of slag in them, silica fume. Yeah. So the question is, do we use a blended cement? And so I'm going to make this a little bit generic. Can we use or which is better to use, a already blended cement or a Portland cement plus a fly ash?
Can I take a stab at this one? I would say.
I'm just gonna.
I would say, personally, I would prefer the OPC separate and the fly ash separate. The reason being, you've got a lot more control in your materials. If you have a blend, you don't necessarily know exactly what you're getting. So I like the ability to control the OPC, control the fly ash, and there's so much variability with ashes these days
Sure.
that I would be able to want to pick and choose which ash I'm using and the amount and all that. I just feel like you're gonna get a more dialed in concrete mix with that. You're gonna play the devil's advocate and say the other one, aren't you?
Totally.
Just that's
Sorry.
your thing.
I am. So I disagree.
Do you?
I would rather use especially if I was a ready mix provider.
It's easier.
May I
Please.
have the floor? I would go for a blended cement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would be fairly picky. And I would want to get something that was the durability and strength champions, whatever that blend was,
Mm-hmm.
and very receptive to a host of different admixtures.
Sure.
Now, the reason why I would do it, and I would choose my blended cement based on localized environment, freezing and thawing, ASR, whatever it was, cracking, high heat, low heat, whatever
Sure.
it is, I would choose my blended cement based on that, but then I would create my standard to high performance concretes using chemicals, and here's the thing. If I have my blended cement, the only thing that I think I would miss out on is high early strength stuff,
Okay.
right? And I can get that chemical the
Sure,
hell out of it.
sure.
That's my only sacrifice.
Sure.
That being said, I can still have silos. Since I already have my blended cement, I have my silos for my other products.
Oh, sure.
And I can do a host of tertiary blends now. I mean, I can really save my customers money. I can get that concrete gray coming down the chute,
Right?
and I can make new shit happen. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I can make new concrete concepts
Sure, okay, fair.
while still being cost effective.
Because you're not taking up all that extra space
I have
for
extra
your
silos.
specific. Okay.
Use some Juno in there,
Right?
have some Creed Shield rolling in there.
Right.
I mean, just, and then some
I know.
non-chloride accelerators, get those 4 to 6 hour opening times. Anyway, so I think there you have it. So hopefully we answered your question. If not, Whitney, you made a beautiful point.
Thank you.
How did I do?
You did great.
Next question is from a gentleman, a scholar. His name is Harry
Yep.
Belkowitz.
Yep.
It's my dad.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
We dragged him into the concrete industry with us years ago.
Oh my gosh, years ago. So, Harry Belkowitz, marketing manager
Yep.
at Intelligent Concrete. Awesome guy.
Yep.
Check him out. His question is non-potable water acceptable for mixing concrete? And Dad, can I call him Dad?
Yeah, of course.
Dad, great question. Easy question with a tough answer because it depends. Yes, you can do anything. You can use gray water, reclaimed, non-potable gray water in your concrete.
Theoretically.
It has been done. Pond
It has been
water.
done.
Pond water.
Right. That being said, though,
That being said,
you're introducing a lot of variables that you had not planned on, so you could run into some problems.
there is a huge cost savings. Huge.
Well, that's assuming the mix goes right. If it does not, then you are in
and
the other direction.
what do you think would go wrong?
Well, it depends on where the water's coming from, and quite frankly, there could be a number of chemicals that you don't even know are in there.
What if there's a lot of salts, a lot of chlorides?
Right.
And that
it could just
concrete
break
is
apart
being
the
used
concrete.
in bridge decking, steel corrosion.
See, and hopefully, if it's something significant as a bridge, they would get potable water.
So we used to work with a gentleman years ago who prided himself on working with a plant where they did 100% reclaimed pond water in the concrete. Very proud. Now, the
Very
pond
risky.
water was from the pond, but it was also from the water that they cleaned the trucks out with.
Okay.
So again, yeah, you could totally do that. There's nothing stopping you, and I believe there's even an ASTM that covers that. Like 1172 or 2, I don't
Sure.
know the ASTM, to be honest. Where we were talking about Dad's question, which was, can you use non-potable water for concrete? And the answer is yes. There's this cost savings to it. And this is not just for concrete, this is for concrete admixtures.
Sure.
If you're a blender and you're going to use municipal water,
Yeah, I know.
you're going to save a bunch of money compared to DI water, which
Well,
is...
deionized water is crazy expensive.
Okay,
but
fine,
if you
but-
go distilled,
But if you get a deionized
Right.
system, it's not
It's
going to
a
be
lot,
as
right,
expensive.
right.
But going to a processed water gives you a certain bit of surety, control over your concrete, and not that all negative things will happen if you use non-potable water. It's
Right.
just,
it could work, but you're running the risk.
you just don't know.
It's like getting a cheap VRBO. You're just rolling the dice.
Just, yeah, were those bed sheets really clean? Were they?
I mean, you might get lucky, but
Are you?
you might not.
You end up paying for it no matter
One way or
what.
another.
Great question, Dad.
Right.
Great question.
Okay, last question.
How can we make a hydrophobic material? And this is from Soham. And I guess you can answer that twofold.
Sure.
If you're just looking at reducing the tendency for water migration or the change or the differential of relative humidity, you kind of want your water to stay put, you don't have to go for hydrophobicity. You can go after densification.
Right, and then maybe
Pozzolanic materials.
totally right. Just getting a really strong, low porosity concrete.
Lower water cementitious
Sure.
ratio using a high range water reducer.
With minimal air.
Minimal defoaming
Right.
packages. So
Right.
that's going for the reduction in permeability, and we're also trying to reduce not just the pore sizes and the pore content, but the connectivity between pores too. Because
So
that's
you-
the worst thing.
So you probably want to optimize the granular skeleton too.
Totally,
Maybe the
use
cement powder.
Yeah, totally. Use as
Just-
little paste as possible,
Right.
and then use a powder that has a lower porosity index to it.
Right.
Totally. Now, that will densify
Right.
hydrophobic.
Admixtures and topical admixtures. Admixtures in the concrete,
And
and then topical admixtures.
So what we're saying is,
two, 3, 4-tiered system.
right, you would have to add something to the concrete,
Right.
because remember, concrete is like a hardened sponge. I need to
Loves
stop.
that water.
Remember, concrete, I mean, cement is the backbone of concrete strength, though, that hydrated cement. And that word hydrated is important.
Water. Loves that water.
It wants that water,
Right.
it consumes that water. It's going to do it forever. As long as water is present, that hardened sponge.
We'll take in the water.
So, to make concrete hydrophobic, water fearing, you've got to put some hydrophobic elements in it.
Right.
Hydrophobic emulsions of different types, waxes, oils. I mean, whatever you're going to use, you're going to have to add.
Things that are going to repel water. So,
And like Whitney said, you can add integral admixtures. One that I know offhand is Crete Shield.
right.
Have a beautiful hydrophobic admixture that
They do.
also densifies. And then there are others out there, that say they're pore blocking, but they're not really hydrophobic.
Yeah, and I'm always a big fan of the tiered approach with any
Right.
aspect. You
Right,
know what
right,
I mean?
right,
If you
right,
just
right, right,
if you
right.
have one thing that you're trying to do, I mean, you might get that kind of first level, but if that barrier fails, if that singular factor or variable,
Well,
it
it's-
doesn't work, then you need backups.
The problem with hydrophobic emulsions is that just like soap, they create little air bubbles, right? They're either anionic or cationic, but they grab onto each other and they can form these entrapped air, these larger air bubbles, not much of your entrained air. And I have worked with hydrophobic additives in the past, admixtures that took your air from 5% up to 12%, and that killed,
Right.
Now you can make a water droplet stand up on the concrete, but you're losing, 1,000 psi, 2,000 psi
Right.
strength.
Well, and then we're back to if something happens to that
Yeah.
sealer or whatever, that topical admixture that you put on, then what do? Then your concrete is even worse shape than it was before you applied that. Potentially, because it's weaker.
Well,
You need to look at the concrete holistically and not just, oh, we'll plop this on and that'll take care of it. It's evaluate the concrete in its entirety.
Well, and then there are so many. See, that's one thing. I find anytime an end user tries to go after a new material, they just stick with that one material.
Right.
They don't add it to a system that they've been creating. Anyway, so the impetus of all this jazz was hydrophobic concrete. In lieu of just looking at putting a hydrophobic emulsion in there, using a tiered approach, like Whitney said, either using something that contains a hydrophobic emulsion with other nanoparticles in it. Of course, I love those, so I'm always going to preach those. That can densify, reduce percolation, as well as add that hydrophobic emulsion, and or what Whitney said, where you have something that's going to, or a concrete mix that uses multiple elements,
Right.
or both.
Right.
All of the above. But I would not hang my hat on
A singular.
hydrophobic emulsion
Yeah. Agreed.
or singular hydrophobic admixture.
Right.
Using what you have available is obviously the most important part.
Sure.
But bringing in new and emerging technologies to help you meet the demand of construction while
Right.
saving the world with all the concrete in it
Yes.
is extremely important. So, I think that's enough for
I
today.
agree.
We hope you had a good time. I know we did too.
Is this a new closing song?
Well, it was, but you kind of interrupted it.
I'm so
with
sorry.
the-
Please continue.
I can't. I lost the.
Your groove. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it would.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm sure it would have been lovely.
We'll never know. You're lucky I love you.
I love you too.
Go Concrete!
Be an asphalt.